That's a bad groove. In the late 70s, reggae had already been around for over 10 years. At that time, my group and I decided to record our first reggae song. Actually, it was a new version of Cantaloupe Island, which is an old jazz tune of mine. Anyway, I remember that we took a lot of time to painstakingly work out every last detail, and finally, after about 2 or 3 days of recording and overdubbing and getting everything right where we wanted it, I took the tape home and I listened to it, and then I realized that I really didn't know enough about reggae. Anyway, I've learned a lot since then, and I've had the good fortune to sit in with people like Steel Pulse and to record an album with Sly and Robbie. But reggae is so special that there's always more to learn. This session of Rock School with Sly Dunbar, Robbie Shakespeare, and Dennis Bovell is one of the best introductions to reggae that I've ever seen. It starts with a group that definitely knows reggae, Jamaica's Black Uhuru.
So I a deep plastic smile shower. So I a deep plastic shower. The mommy came from a foreign land with a whole lot of Babylon. Now you gonna love Babylon, girl. You got to prove the lie on. Don't show I a deep plastic smile shower. Oh, don't show I a deep plastic shower.
That was top international reggae band Black Uhuru. In recent years, reggae has become one of the most influential and popular forms of music.
When rock musicians in this country first tried to play reggae in the early 70s, they found it really confusing. Because reggae coming from Jamaica rather than from North America, it seemed a million miles from the rock and the blues styles that they'd grown up with.
The unusual thing about reggae is the rhythm and the way the instruments lock together to create that rhythm. Now, the main part of the sound is the drums.
Characteristic heavy bass weaves around the drums and holds the rhythm down.
The guitar chops on beats 2 and 4 of the bar.
So, how come the sound is so different? Well, the roots, of course, go way back in Jamaican history. We're looking at more recent times. In the 50s, Jamaican bands used to play a thing called mento, which is quite close to Trinidadian calypso. And the roots of reggae can sort of start there when this local homegrown sort of music started to be blended with American imported jazz and soul and R&B, which led to the invention of ska. That turned into rocksteady, and then we had reggae.
So, over the past 20 years, the music has been continuously developing, and now there's a thriving British reggae scene as well. But now we're going to look at the instrumental techniques, starting with the drums.
The thing that really characterises reggae drumming is that it usually has a half-time feel. So, in all the other styles of drumming we looked at, the snare drum comes on beats 2 and 4, so you get this sort of rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Now, in reggae, the rhythm's halved. So the snare drum comes down on beat 3, right in the middle of the 2 and 4. The 2 and 4 are transferred onto the hi-hat, and they're beefed up by the guitar, so you get this sort of sound. A 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Right, the other interesting thing is that the bass drum drops on beat 3 with the snare drum, right? And the snare drum itself is usually played with a rim click, like this. So you get this sound, again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, now this is called a one-drop. And it's this that, when it first came along in the late 60s, early 70s, really confused rock drummers because there's no first beat to the bar on the bass drum, which gives you the solidness of the time. It sort of floats around. It sounds like it's upside down almost. So it's quite tricky to do. And because also there isn't this first beat of the bar on the bass drum, very often it's pointed up by a little rack on the snare drum or a sharp beat on the hi-hat like that. And the other thing you can do is syncopate it, and you can use our old friend the clave rhythm like this sort of, and so on. Now the other thing is, we've just played all that in straight eights, and as with the other rhythms that we've seen previously, you can have a triplets feel, so you can get the and so on. So the next little bit we're going to do is a triplets feel one drop. I'm going to stick these little things in I was just talking about, and this is really the style that Carlton Barrett, the Wailers, made his own. Okay, 2. Now, in the mid-70s, reggae got slower, it got heavier, it got more political, and new styles emerged, known variously as rockers, militant style, and this involved playing foot-of-the-bar steppers on the bass drum. But the snare drum stays firmly fixed on the third beat again, so we've still got the half-time sort of feel. And this, by the way, is where Sly Dunbar really starts to make his mark. He's the acknowledged master of modern reggae rhythms. So we try this one. Right, and as the 70s closed, reggae had now become international, and reggae drummers started to get influenced by rock and funk. So what happened was the bass drum was freed from playing four to the bar and started to syncopate around the beat a little bit more.